2024 releases, Invictus Parfum and Azzaro, the most one, I don't even know. Let's talk about it.
Here's some codes to save you some cash on your next Middle Eastern niche or designer fragrances.
What's going on, guys? My name is Neeb. Welcome back to AROMATIX. Today we're going to be talking about the two newest releases, one from Azzaro and one from Paco Rabanne. I'm going to give you guys a double whammy right now. Two reviews in one. Okay, no, seriously, I wore this in the last week, both of these fragrances, back to back. The first one I rocked was the brand new Azzaro, the most wanted Eau de Toilette Intense. So they dumbed down the concentration. They did change a few things with this fragrance. A few things to say about this one, but also Paco Rabanne, on the other hand, has released another, the latest Invictus, and this is called Invictus Parfum. Also a few good things to say about this fragrance. But let's go ahead and get started with the first one we mentioned, which is the Azzaro, the most wanted Eau de Toilette Intense. The flanker names are just killing me, to be honest. I mean, it's the most wanted, the wanted, the night by Intense. The most wanted, Intense Eau de Toilette. That's the latest one. That's all you need to know about. I'm gonna give you guys my experience before we get into the note breakdown, the nitty and gritty. So when I initially sprayed this on, it seemed like just a fresher version of the most wanted Intense Eau de Parfum. So the all black version, the best flanker of all of them. It has the toffee, it has some amber woods. It's a pretty sexy date night style fragrance, which honestly has a bit more versatility than just that. Performance on that is, it lasts all day. The projection isn't really going to be anything beast mode, but it's a longer lasting fragrance, Eau de Parfum concentration. So when I got this, I initially got a reminiscence of the original along with the original Wanted DNA, which kind of has like this 1 million vibe. This one, however, went a little bit fresher than the Most Wanted Intense, and initially I just thought it might have just been stripped of a few notes like that praline, etc. After the initial opening is when things started to shift a little bit. I was starting to get a very wet woods, moss-like fragrance, along with this heavy dose of lavender and citrus. That sounds pretty familiar, actually, and it smells pretty familiar. Specifically, Paco Rabanne's Phantom DNA. That's exactly what that is. That heavy, frothy, shaving cream-like lavender, along with the citrus top and the soil nuance, which this one doesn't really do soil per se, but it does have that wet woods, the oak moss vibe. The only difference is going to be the addition of that liquor. And to be honest with you guys, before I even actually looked at the note breakdown, I didn't really get too much of it. It's only after I saw that it has liquor that I could kind of get the boozy nuances. I was overwhelmed by everything else and looking for differences, etc., that I didn't really pay attention to anything new per se because it didn't really smell like anything new. This reminds me strikingly of Paco Rabanne's Phantom. For me personally, I think that it gets ridiculously close. It also has a similar vibe to a lot of generic mall fragrances, but it doesn't make this one a bad fragrance by any means. It's woodsy, it's aromatics, it's citrusy. It does have certain differences from Paco Rabanne's Phantom, but it gets pretty close. I would imagine that this will get compliments, but the problem with that is that the projection is virtually, I mean, it's really not good. It's poor. It's average at best. I could smell myself for about an hour and a half, if that, for like a good 2 feet, and then after that, it was just forgettable. I have to give it to it. The longevity on this, I could still smell it the next day on clothing. But mind you, I caked it on. After the first 3 hours passed, I couldn't really smell much anymore. I caked it on, and it was like 12, 15 sprays, and then I could smell it on clothing. Long story short, I personally wouldn't recommend this. I don't think it's the worst fragrance in the world, but it's absolutely nothing new. And even with certain cases of fragrances that aren't new, sometimes they bring something a little bit unique to the table. This one, however, it's not really that unique. It's nothing brand new. It will remind you of the Wanted original DNA. It does have a slight booziness at the dry down of the fragrance. And really, I get a little bit of it during the top as well when I really start to think about it. I won't say that this is the worst fragrance you could pick up. I feel like a lot of people will still enjoy this, but it's nothing new and it's nothing that I would personally recommend. Now, on the other hand, Paco Rabanne released Invictus Parfum. Now, this is a brand that is increasing the concentration rather than going backwards. The Parfum concentration does translate into a longer lasting fragrance, so we might as well address the performance first. Performance for this, total longevity on clothing to the next day. However, the projection, it acts like a Parfum. It's not going to be something that's, you know, smacking people in the face, getting much attention. I would say that it does get the job done though. For about 2 to 3 hours, you're gonna get about 3 feet of solid projection. It's after that 3 hours that it reels back into like a scent bubble up until about hour 6, I would say. And then the rest, it's close encounter, never truly becoming a just skin scent until about hour 9 or 10. So total longevity is really good. So Paco Rabanne's Invictus Parfum. The reason I pulled out Invictus Legend is because there is definitely some kind of relationship here. So this was discontinued, I think, back in 2016. Don't quote me for the year. It was discontinued a few years back. I absolutely love this DNA. For me personally, I enjoyed it a little bit more than Aqua. Aqua seems like everybody was buying it, smelling like it. This one was something marine marine aquatic, but it also had this distinctive bay leaf. I've been preaching about this DNA for a long time and talking a lot about the inspired bys like Invicto Legend, Victorioso Legend. Invicto Legend was the better one, of course. It came out a little bit later, more refined, but ultimately the original is king. So it's aquatic, it's fresh, it's got this bay leaf, it projects like a beast. It's better projecting than Invictus Aqua, and it's because of the fact that it has something a little bit more aromatic like that bay leaf. Generally speaking, those aromatic nuances are going to linger on for a lot longer, or aromatic accords, I should say, or notes, I should say, really. Accords are what you smell from a combination of notes, etc. But anyways, basically what you get with this is a longer lasting fresh fragrance because it has that herbal nuance. It's not going to be for everybody because not many people enjoy the herb notes of in fragrances, period. I could see that. I understand some people might think it smells too much like cooking herbs, etc. But this one I genuinely like. The bay leaf along with the aquatics, etc. It's got me a lot of attention and compliments. Projection on this is outstanding. And not to mention, this is an eau de parfum concentration. So I will say that I wish they had gone with an eau de parfum with this one because I feel like it would have projected a little bit more considering the density of the oils in comparison to the density in this one. This one just projected better. So it does have to do with molecular weight, etc. in terms of projection, how well the oils really dissipate, and volatility, which in turn results in better projection.
Yes, science!
So with Paco Rabanne's Parfum, you're gonna get notes of marine notes, lavender, pink pepper at the top, and then in the mid, there's soap, violet leaf, myrtle, and in the base, there's cashmere, musk, and sandalwood. Pretty much, this opens up like Invictus Legend, except it has something a bit more distinctively aromatic and seaweed-like. It's coming from that myrtle. The myrtle, along with some of that soap, the marine notes, and the peppers, it draws like literally seaweed. So for the first 2 minutes, that seaweed nuance can be off-putting for a lot of people, I would imagine personally, just because of the fact that it comes off a little bit salty. For me personally, I got over it. It doesn't smell that bad, but it's definitely amped up a little bit more so in this one than it ever has been in Invicto Legend, or Invictus Legend. With Invictus Legend, it's nice, it's crisp, it's got slight marine notes, but it doesn't go seaweed territory. This one is a bit more towards that wet, marine, leafy greens, if you will, I guess. That's kind of what seaweed is, really. So as this one dries down is where the main differences are going to be. So yes, the opening of this is like 65–70% of the original. It's actually really close, considering the fact that it's a completely new fragrance. It seems like it's a reimagined version of Invictus Legend. So in that sense, it's about 75% reminiscent to Invictus Legend, just enough to say that this reminds me of it. But however, once we start getting into the mid to the dry down, you're gonna start to see that it goes in a different territory. This in fact goes a little bit thicker and it goes more ambery to me personally. And in the mid to dry down is where it starts to get familiar to other just generic scent profiles that do the whole blue shower gel soapy, considering the note that it has of soap. So it takes this whole marine aquatic vibe, which it opens up with, and it holds onto for the entirety of the fragrance. That's not going anywhere. It's gonna remain relatively aromatic and marine. That's the backbone of this DNA. But it starts to adopt a few of the successful style DNAs like YSLY, YSL Myself, and it embeds it somewhere in the heart of this fragrance. And I understand where they were going with this, and I don't blame them at all. They saw a few of the successors like YSLY EDP. It's a great fragrance. It does that whole blue shower gel soapy vibe, but they do their little own twist to it, making it a bit more unique. So while it's not the most new scent profile, it still has that unique Invictus touch. Just enough to make this one an honestly enjoyable purchase. I really enjoyed wearing this fragrance. It did bring back some memories of Invictus Legend. It kind of goes in its own little territory, especially with the mid to dry down. It has a few more dimensions. Doesn't mean that it's going to be a better fragrance than Invictus Legend, but it does add a few of that soapy, warmer dry down, similar to YSLY EDP once you get to the mid and dry down, like I said. So not a bad fragrance by any means. I will say that it does not, for me, top Invictus Legend. Invictus Legend's a bit more of a refreshing fragrance, an easier fragrance to wear overall, stays fresh, doesn't really get too ambery, etc., and it holds on to that whole marine and aquatic. It doesn't change per se, and it doesn't go in that typical soapy vibe. And for that reason, despite how its own thing, I love this one, and I personally give it about a 9 to a 9.5, almost a 10 out of 10. One of my favorite ones for sure. I know Invictus Victory Elixir is a 10 for me. So this is the runner-up, absolute runner-up. Right after that though, I think is going to be this one right here, Invictus Parfum. Overall, I give this fragrance a score of 8 to an 8.5 out of 10. It's relatively similar to a lot of other fragrances in the heart, but everything else around it has its own little unique touch. For that reason, it deserves that 8.5. Solid longevity, the projection could be just a little bit better. Scent profile reminds me of Invictus Legend, and in the mid to dry down reminds me of the typical YSL sell why I sell myself, etc. And before we end the video, let's just give it to the design though. This design is definitely an upgrade. So great job with the bottle design. I think it deserves every bit of that 8.5. I kind of wanted to say 9 because I really enjoy this one, but it's just not as unique as some of the other ones. I still think that a lot of people are going to actually enjoy this one a lot, and a lot of people might be turned off by that seaweed opening. After the opening, it's a solid fragrance and a solid release. There you have it, my thoughts on the 2 new releases, one from Azzaro and one from Paco Rabanne. Let me know down in the comment section which one of these you're interested in picking up. Would you even consider picking up the most wanted Eau de Toilette Intense? I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button. Till the next one, peace.